to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way, and appearing tonight with me, it's Bill Hannon co-hosting and Kathy Medeiros co-hosting. And we are very fortunate in having one of our very own crew, Darlene Filosa, as our guest, because all of our crew is talented. And we love to share their talents. You've been working with spirit, from what we've talked about, for a very long time, since you were little.
Yes.
And you were blessed with an aunt who believed in spiritualism.
Yes.
And guided you along.
Yes.
And I can only just imagine that while other kids were doing normal high school-y stuff, you were doing other things.
Yeah, you could say that.
and being a little afraid of telling other people what you were doing.
Yeah, the whole crystal thing was very unusual at my age, to be into that, and getting some guidance from my aunt about some of that information. Yes, and she'd be talking about Edgar Cayce and what she was doing with different spiritualist churches, and she was going there, and my family and would be like, oh, rolling their eyes. But it was really helpful for me because she helped guide me along on what I was feeling and what I was going through at the time.
Yeah, it's great to have somebody, especially if you're a little afraid or confused.
Yes.
Someone who can walk with you.
Right, and if you have somebody that's in the family that is saying something that strikes a chord within you, is resonating some truth. And it's easy for you to accept and kind of ingrain that into your personal being.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was early on. She started to talk to me about it when I was 8, 9 years old. And then I can remember one summer her coming down to Florida at the time where we were living, and she mentioned she was going to see Edgar Cayce at the time, his institute, which is in Virginia. And that was a real big, exciting time for her. And so it was exciting for me to learn about it. As a matter of fact, it was probably about 8, 9 years ago, a little bit more than that, I ended up going there myself. And it was always on one of my bucket lists because I felt it was important. He has amazing teachings, and I wanted to make sure that I got to experience that as well, because that was part of what she was teaching me along my path.
Yeah, and a lot of his teachings have been brought back up and are being practiced.
Corroborated. Yeah, I just actually went down there this summer. And when you sign on as a member of this association, the ARE, Association for Research and Enlightenment, you have access to all the readings that Edgar Cayce had done.
Yeah.
And they have everything categorized as by groups. Somebody has asthma or psoriasis or different heart disease, things like this. They have all his readings combined, and they've actually taken like the most, let's say, the top 10 natural approaches to helping somebody get healthy again. And when these things keep recurring on different people's readings, you're more or less getting the top 10 hits. Right. For that disease, to help for you to get better.
Yeah.
And, so it's just as simple for people to access that information.
Now, how long ago did you visit Edgar Cayce Institute?
Around 9 years, 10 years ago.
Okay. And you were just there for a couple of weeks?
Oh, no, I wasn't even there that long.
Yeah.
I had a business trip that I flew in early for, and was able to stop there and make sure I made that as a priority when I was going to Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time there, but it was enough to say I'd been there, to get into the library, which was amazing. So it was a nice trip.
Yeah, he prescribed medications. He also provided financial solutions for people that were in dire straits.
Right.
But he got them out of debt, but he didn't make them millionaires.
Yeah, right.
He didn't give them a fortune. That
Well,
was for them to earn.
He had a problem himself with some. He realized that when he was suggesting things for himself to do, he thought he was getting information that a lot of times he just went bust on a couple things because it didn't pertain to him. Therefore,
Yeah, it wasn't for him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, It's,
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this professionally for?
The work that I do, and I've been doing this for about 15 years.
and what is the work you do?
Yes.
More in depth.
So more in depth of what I do. So I actually do, as I was telling Josie when we originally talked, is I do mediumship, but I also I talk to spirit, but I also apply some of a mixed blend at different times depending on what the person needs in front of me. So I'm hoping when the person walks out of there, they feel healed. And that's what we were talking about, is that it's not just about, what's going on with my boyfriend, what's going on with my girlfriend, am I going to win the lottery, that type of thing. It's more about healing and making sure that when they walk away from me and my studio, that they're getting the best, the best that they can to move on for whatever it is that they need help with. And sometimes it's from, someone that's passed, or from a relative that's passed. Sometimes it's about just mere guidance in some particular way. Mm-hmm. So I provide that spiritually with them. So by doing different mediums, if you will. So from talking to spirit, I do work with crystals and I work with cards. I very rarely use the cards. If the person in front of me needs to have some type of reassurance, or let's just say we've gone through half an hour and we say, let's just confirm that with a spread.
Yeah.
And we'll just put out the spread really quickly and just to confirm everything that's happening.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. I find I don't put anything out till towards the end.
Right.
I start giving all the information, and then I say, "Oh my God, I haven't even done cards," and they came for cards.
Right. I think because
But it corroborated
exactly
what I said.
Exactly. So, and hopefully, if everything is flowing the right way, your spread should match everything that you've just said.
Yes, or it will tell you something important that was left out.
Right.
That you didn't pick up on.
Right.
A little something that's like, everything is going this way, except for now, you still need to work on your childhood.
Right.
Don't forget that, kind of,
Right.
Now, how often, when they come for a reading now, how often do the person that's sitting in front of you come with someone in particular that they want to speak with, that's in spirit? How often does that happen?
Actually, it's a smaller percentage of time
Really?
than you would imagine. Yeah, I know that you do it. You do the mediumship work as well. And I don't know about you, but it's not as often as you would think.
For me, it's about 50-50, so I was wondering about you.
I would say it's more like 30-40%
Okay.
percent of the time that they're coming to speak to a particular person. I know that if I have been recommended by other people that have been to me, because they may say, well, somebody, they need to see you because so-and-so, passed suddenly, and they want to get some information on that. So, but for the most part, it's around that 30-40 split.
Yeah.
And if the person wants to come through, the spirit wants to come through, that's fine. But I am a firm believer that if spirit doesn't want to come through, if that person doesn't want to come through, they're not there. And then I honestly believe that someone can't just materialistically poof, they're there.
Right. So if you walk into a situation where somebody's looking for something from somebody who's passed, and you're not getting the information you look for, without going to cards, which you say you don't use that often, what do you lean towards? What's your tool to establish some type of communication?
So what I would say to them is that because I invite, when I do my work, I actually will sit down and do prayer and meditation before I start, and then I'll ask at that particular time for their spirit guides to come through, their relatives, anybody that wants to come and speak to them.
Sure.
So somebody will usually come forward to speak for them or to them, but that's not necessarily who they wanted, because
Right.
that happens. And what I would say is that when they get into that mode, they'll say, well, I don't know that person that well. I didn't know her that well, or I didn't know him that well. And say, well, that's who's coming forward. And then as we're going through everything a little bit more and more, that's when the other person that might come through, the other spirit will come through that they wanted. Sometimes they don't come through. And for whatever reason, they're not coming through. And I just, again, I'm very strong in the fact that you can't just make that person manifest.
Of course not.
And there's
It's all free will, whether you're
free
here
will,
or you're on
right,
the other side.
right,
It doesn't matter.
Right. And it could be that, they need to hear, because what I pray beforehand is what it is that the person needs in front of me gets as the message. So it may not necessarily be what they think they want to hear, but it's what
They need.
Spirit is saying that they need. And that's what I find a lot of times. I don't know if you found that as well.
Generally the case, yes. But, very few times, though, like sometimes people that I find out they can't move forward unless they know what's going on with any particular details. But when that happens, so it's like I invite them to bring in like a photo or an item that belonged to the person.
Right.
Especially when it comes like that. But when it's the absolute need, that doesn't happen too often.
Right.
But generally though, most spirits, the loved ones do come in on their own anyway.
On their own anyway.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. I've helped a couple of people that needed some answers, and I said, bring up something up there so that I can pick up the energy of that, so I can go that direction.
Yeah.
Another thing is the information they're getting is valid, even if it isn't from that person. And
correct.
I found that as well,
how does this information sound to you?
Right.
Does this resonate with you? That this is valid information for you,
Right.
to help you moving forward.
Right.
Validating the information is, and maybe this spirit will be able to come.
Right. Right. One of the things that you do the work and you do the work, so one of the things is that you can see the same person over and over again, and sometimes their readings may not change that much from 6 months ago or 3 months ago, and the reality is because it's their free will to do whatever they want to do. And a lot of times what you're seeing is that this is where I see you right now. Spirit is saying that you should or need to do this in order to move forward. And people, being people, don't always do what they should or need to do.
Change is hard and usually not welcomed.
Yeah.
But for those of us that do this work, we find change to be a very good thing.
Right.
A much needed thing. Yeah, because a lot of times when I tell people, and when the same thing keeps coming up and up and over and over again, it's because they need to do something so they can, get new information the next time they get for a reading. Because whatever that is, they need to finish that up, need to work on that, whether it's a lesson or just to make sure something gets completed. Because you can't always just leave things up in the air or in the void.
Yeah.
It just sits.
I'm called to talk about, or just mention, a client I can remember. She was always coming because she wanted to find out what was going on in her love life. And and I'm going to Kathy because Kathy and I met yesterday, and we had talked about some of this. But one of the things is that every time she'd come, she'd ask about the same thing, and I'm like, it's not about that for you right now. You need to get your life together.
Yeah.
And you have to put that in such a way, right, that people understand.
Right.
It's
willing
not
to listen, yeah.
right. It's not about your love life right now. It's about you need to do this for you to move forward so that you can be well.
So your love life can fall into place.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So sometimes we got to do the work.
We can do the right.
Yeah.
Well, what I have said to someone in a similar situation is you're not ready yet. And if you were to attract someone, it wouldn't be a good situation.
Right.
It wouldn't be a healthy, what do you want? A healthy relationship or just any relationship?
Right.
And of course, they're going to say they want a healthy one.
Of course.
Well, that's the right answer. That's the right answer.
I just wanted somebody.
Sometimes what we want is just somebody for right now, and we don't always realize there was a difference there.
Right.
Yeah.
Being human, we don't realize, okay, you want something that lasts, though, but you don't want something with that's just drama-filled.
Especially if it's someone that you're attracted to already. There's a specific someone.
Yeah, there's that too as well.
That is so hard to let go of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
The human condition.
That's right. So some of the other things that I do is I work with a crystal. I work with some crystals, and I work with a crystal ball. And I know we had mentioned that a little bit too. I have this particular crystal ball, and I always tell people when I'm doing this, I'm going to say, you're going to see me look in different areas. You're going to see me look in front of you. You're going to see me look on the side of you, and you may see me look at this crystal ball. So just so you know that. And what I'm looking at is that sometimes in this crystal ball, spirits will pop out, something will come to me from this crystal ball. And that was one of the things that my aunt taught me along the way. And, I picked it up and have been using that crystal ball now for a good 10 years. And sometimes it's just the way it manifests, the spirit manifests itself within the crystal ball, that you're drawn to it, to look at it and say, okay, this is what's coming through. I see your aunt, and I'll describe the person that's coming through to me, and it's someone of their relative that happened to be there. So that's one of the other things I do. So I can incorporate the cards, the crystals, the crystal ball, and all with the mediumship, and then what I see.
What do you do with crystals? Do you do healing work with crystals, or?
I have the crystals out on. I have like a whole spread that I put out. Kathy will say, it takes me a few minutes to get everything together because I put everything out.
Yeah.
But what
but it's not the kind of spread you can spread on a fork.
No. It's how I put my crystals out on my table. And the reason I like to have them out is that I'm very much a person that works in the angelic realm and works from spirit in that aspect. So I make sure that for me, I like to have the crystals I know that resonate all with that. So I have those crystals out. And so when I'm working with the crystals, and I'm an advocate of that, whether or not it's a clear quartz crystal, or whether or not it happens to be selenite, or whether or not it happens to be celestite. It's all of the stuff that's there for healing. Those are the healing crystals I use. I have a couple of Herkimer diamonds, cherry quartz. So what I do is I have that out, and so when I'm doing the reading, the person that's in front of me is getting the healing properties of those crystals from my reading. And then if it's called, if I really feel as though that they need some type of release or some type of Reiki done to break through a barrier of something that's going on with them, then I'll look at doing some Reiki work with them as well with the crystals.
It's beautiful when you have a suitcase full of tools.
And she has a suitcase.
Well, spirit can do more with you. You know, the more you know, and the more modalities you have, the more you can help different people.
Right.
It's just like, you have a TV set. The old TV sets where you used to turn the dial.
The tuner,
You'd be able to tune into different vibrations for you to use the tools to receive the information.
Right. So it helps them, it helps me, and I find that it's very therapeutic. And again, I've built the studio, I say built, my studio is inside a church that's actually being renovated. It's a historic church, so it's been around for many, many years. And it's the energy that you get in there, first of all, coming from this church is amazing. And then what I've done with my actual studio where I do all my work at is make sure that there's angels around. It's built inside to make
That's
sure.
great. I mean, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of, a church there where people come to worship and also to be inspired. It's almost like a portal just right there to begin with. I mean, the faucet's turned on, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very, when you leave from there, including myself, when I leave from there, I'm like, oh, it feels so great. I can just go in there and just meditate and be there for like half an hour, and I come out of there feeling rejuvenated.
well, where is this, do you,
No.
just so you can, get the information out there, where do you practice so that
So this is
people
in,
can get in touch with you?
sure, it's at the Congregational Church and in Newport, and it's on 73 Pelham Street in Newport, and by phone number would have to reach out to me by phone. My phone number is 561 area code 376 7297.
1797.
And you're there by appointment?
And I'm there by appointments, and I do events, and so I try to post on Facebook as well, so I'm out on Facebook. And I do have a website, soulinspirations.biz is my website.
Soulinspirations.biz.
.biz,
Very
yes.
good. Very good.
Yep. I felt that's the name I came up with some years back with a friend, and that was because it's inspirational. And I hope that when people, my goal is that when people leave me, they feel inspired, and their soul feels inspired. I think that we need to take care of each other and make sure that we make a difference in the world. And sometimes it feels as though one person at a time to heal is the best way to do it.
Sure.
Yeah. You don't have to heal big, just one at a time.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the things I get when I see people who do this frequently enough is that every time you go to somebody and they're able to share information with you, it's like peeling another layer off the onion or peeling back a cloth covering you. It's just basically for you to open up and receive and integrate what you feel is appropriate.
Yeah.
Right.
And shine your light on everyone. That's what we're all here to do, is help everybody shine their lights,
Right.
and as well as our own.
Well, we all are here for a purpose. Some of us will say that they don't know what their purpose is, but really everyone has a purpose here. We're all supposed to be helping each other to figure out what that is.
And sometimes your purpose is to help the other person discover the purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
The thing is, a lot of people may not know which direction it should be going to, but they don't even ask for help. They don't realize that all you have to do is ask.
I'm going to talk about this I think I'm okay by saying this. Chris McCullough's birthday is tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh,
However, I know when this airs, it won't be tomorrow.
yes.
But I will say that what she did on Facebook today as a nice gesture, and I thought it was amazing, which is why I want to make sure that I give her credit for it, is that she asked for, instead of having donations for her birthday, saying, I want you to donate to this charity or donate to that charity, or I want to raise money to give to, whomever. She asked that she pay it forward. Buy a person a cup of coffee that's behind you. Buy somebody lunch that you don't know. She asked to pay it forward, and I thought that was an amazing gesture to have happen, and that's why I wanted to share that.
That's actually big.
I thought
You know,
it was really
it's,
big.
it's
yeah,
little things though, but that's the one that makes the biggest impact though too. Is
Right.
those little things.
because it was an act of kindness, something that you wouldn't normally do. It's an act of kindness. And today, in today's world, we need to be like that. Everybody's out for everybody, to hurt everybody, instead of just, let's make it.
Well,
supporting each
even if
other.
it's not to hurt anybody, it's to come out ahead or come out on top.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, not intentionally to hurt somebody, but, you know, I'm top dog here. And you know, the thing is that
Yeah.
that's not the way that you can move forward most effectively.
Right.
Yeah, because we
Smoothly, easily.
Yeah, because we all have different strengths
I-
and weaknesses, though. So if
Right.
you had the same thing, though, I mean, what's the point then?
Right.
You
I
know, so,
believe
yeah,
that when we help someone who is not able to do something for themselves, those people are gifts to us on earth because they need healing.
Yeah.
They need assistance. The person with the cane, the person who is living in a group home because of some
Challenge that
mental
they
or
have, yeah.
physical challenge. Those people are gifts to us because they give us the opportunity to serve someone. And a lot of people, you know, will say, well, what's their purpose? Their purpose is to show you how to be as humane a human as possible.
Well, the thing is that no matter where you are in life, somebody's always had some type of something to overcome. And you know, somebody might be in a shelter somewhere, or a homeless shelter, or a shelter somewhere, that they are there because of something that's happened drastically in their lives. That wasn't, you know, they may have been sitting up on top, and now all of a sudden they're down here. But the act of kindness may pull them back up again. And that's what I think that, you know, sometimes we lose sight of. And I hope that within this work that we do spiritually, that we make a difference, that we move people ahead instead of holding them down. Or, you know, I'm entitled to this because of that. I'm entitled to this because of this. You know, everybody's got their own work to do and their own
Yeah.
purpose.
just that moment of compassion can go a long way for someone
Yes.
else, though, to benefit them in their life and to remind them they're important too.
Right.
I'd like to say that we're coming near to the end of the show, and thank you so very much for being our guest.
Thank
you, Bill. Thank you, Kathy, for co-hosting with me.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. If there's one thing that you would like people to know, what would that be?
About me or just in general?
In general would be fine.
In general, I would say the one thing I would like everyone to know is that you gotta have love. You gotta share love. And you gotta, to me, that's the most important thing to share. Make a difference somewhere. Make a difference.
And if you can't share with people because you're too shy or afraid, there's millions of animals that could use loving care too.
And we know that too, right? Our little dogs. Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that it's important that we learn to love each other and stop spreading some of the hate, because hate just begets hate, and we just propel it more and more. And if we just turned around and started loving instead of hating each other, it would make such a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, coming from a place of love is huge.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's really a big part of it. And, you know, so I would say to you that that's what I would hope, I would like to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in our audience. Keep us in mind on Tuesday nights at 8:30. We're here. Where are you? Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Night.
Well, I think that went very well. It's very
Yeah, just do this. Yeah.
another
How'd that go?
source.
Well,
It
it
went
did
well.
well.
Went well.
No, you can do-
I didn't overdo by asking one last.
Oh, okay. Nope.